Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Morning Minute Meditation. I thank you, I do, for joining me today. And I'm looking forward to giving you a thought or two, maybe that you could chew on and meditate on today. You know, there's a lot of hubbub in the religious world today. Everybody with their little how to do it conference and let me point you in the right direction, and all of it in the name of religious quote unquote progress and growth. And this has been going on for an awfully long time. There used to be the pastors' schools in the north where everybody would resort to learn the how to do it tricks. And then there's the leadership conferences out west where everybody goes to get the how to do it tricks, all in the name of progress and all supposedly benign. But it really isn't benign at all, because what happens is generations follow suit and they always back up a step or two. The buzzword of the day is transition among some of these. We're moving into a new era with new people and new different kinds of ways of thinking, and therefore we've got to transition some things from the old to the new so that we can be, here's another buzzword, relevant. God never called us to succeed. He called us to serve. And so what we've tried to do is we've tried to find a way that we can please God by serving Him and becoming successful. God never intended on you doing that. His intent is for you to submit yourself to Him, not to succeed for Him. He's not really wanting you to do anything for Him. He's wanting you to submit to Him so that He can live His life out through you. The problem with all of these gurus that have been held up to us as shining stars and examples of the way it ought to be, many of them have failed, and a lot of them, though not a moral failure, have shown their colors by heading in a southerly direction, going backward. All of that being said, we must consider a couple of things. The Lord made this statement through the prophet Isaiah. He said in chapter 55 and verse number 8, now remember in 55 he said, seek the Lord while he may be found. We need to be seeking the Lord. That is paramount to everything. But the Lord made this statement in regard to our seeking Him. Here's what you have to remember. He said, my thoughts are not your thoughts, and neither, he said, are your ways my ways. He said, for as the heavens, verse 9, are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. In other words, when we've got it figured out, we've not even scratched the surface of understanding how God operates His business. And now the church has become a business model. The reason I know that is because that's what I was in. The secular world was in business. And as I look at the plans and progress, quote unquote, of the church, it's nothing more than what we used to do in the corporate world. All of that in consideration, one of the things that I have found is really intriguing is how out of tune even the conservative religious world is with the scriptures. Donald Gray Barnhouse, that great preacher of yesteryear, was telling about the errand boys of London. He said the errand boys of London were known to whistle out of tune. He said they were whistling, and the whistling, it was fine, but it was always out of tune. And they began to speak among themselves, not the errand boys, but the people in the community, as to why the errand boys who are in the streets every day in London, running errands between businesses, why is it that they are always out of tune? Finally, the suggestion was made that the bells of Westminster had been out of tune for quite some time. They rang every day, quite often, and it was the music heard in the street by these boys. It became the pattern for what they understood music to be. And because the chimes were discordant, it began to make in those young men this thought that out of tune is in tune. We have had a lot of out of tune mess in the church today that everyone is receiving as being in tune with God, and it is so far from God that they wouldn't know Him if he showed up in the street with a neon sign hung around his neck announcing his presence? Hey, I've given you some things to think about today. Think on these things. Have a great day.